History remembers empires through the names of men, kings, generals, conquerors. Their victories are carved into stone, their failures softened by time, their cruelty explained away as necessity. But history grows uneasy when it remembers the woman who made those men kneel. Her name was Wu Zetian. She was born in 624 CE, during the height of the Tang dynasty, one of the most powerful empires the world had ever known. It was an age of wealth, expansion, and strict order. An age where power was believed to descend from heaven directly into the hands of men. Women could influence quietly, advise discreetly, rule briefly as regents. But to rule openly, absolutely, and alone was considered unnatural, even dangerous. Wu Zetian would not merely challenge that belief. She would destroy it. From childhood, she was different. While other girls were prepared for obedience and silence, Wu Zetian was educated. She learned to read, write, and debate. She studied poetry, philosophy, and history. But more importantly, she studied people. She learned early that power did not belong to the strongest warrior or the loudest voice. It belonged to the one who understood fear, ambition, pride, and patience. She learned that men did not rule because they were superior. They ruled because no one challenged them correctly. At the age of 14, Wu Zetian was taken into the imperial palace as a low-ranking concubine to Emperor Taizong. The palace was vast and unforgiving, a world of marble halls, guarded smiles, and constant danger. Concubines were not wives. They were replaceable. She had no rank, no allies, no protection. In the palace, ambition was fatal. Visibility invited destruction. Wu Zetian survived by becoming invisible, watching everything while revealing nothing. She did not stand out through beauty or emotion. She stood out through observation. She listened while others competed for attention. She remembered while others boasted. She learned which men were driven by pride, which by fear, and which by desperation. She understood something most rulers never do. Men in power rarely fall because of enemies. They fall because of themselves. When Emperor Taizong died in 649 CE, Wu Zetian's life should have ended politically. By strict tradition, any concubine who had not borne a son was sent to a Buddhist convent for life. No return, no voice, no influence. Wu Zetian was sent away. For most women, this was a living burial, a slow erasure from history. For her, it was survival. Inside the convent, she endured silence, humiliation, and isolation. She lived among stone walls and ritual prayers. Cut off from the world, she had only begun to understand. Many would have surrendered to fate. Wu Zetian did not. She waited. She understood something few others ever would. Power does not always move forward. Sometimes it waits in the shadows. Her chance came through Emperor Taizong's son, Gaozong, who remembered her. Against tradition and against furious opposition from court officials, Wu Zetian was recalled to the palace. The decision shocked the empire. A woman sent to a convent was never meant to return. Wu Zetian returned not as a servant, but as a woman sharpened by patience. She rose quickly, from concubine to favored consort, and in 655 CE, she became Empress of China. Her rise was not peaceful. Powerful ministers opposed her openly. Rival consorts plotted against her in secret. The court became a battlefield disguised as ceremony. Ancient records accuse her of ruthless actions. But those records were written later by men who lost power under her rule. What is undeniable is this: anyone who stood between Wu Zetian and power did not remain standing. As Emperor Gaozong grew weak and ill, Wu Zetian stepped forward. She began attending court sessions behind a screen, listening as ministers debated, argued, and conspired. Orders were issued in the emperor's name, but everyone knew the truth. Ministers spoke to the emperor, but they obeyed her. This was when men began to kneel. Generals delayed campaigns until her approval arrived. Officials lowered their voices when she entered the hall. Noble families reshaped alliances overnight, desperate for her favor. The court changed its posture. Silence followed her gaze. Those who obeyed were rewarded with rank, land, and security. Those who resisted were removed quietly, exiled, imprisoned, or erased from influence. No spectacle, no warnings. Wu Zetian did not rule through chaos. She ruled through certainty. Her suffering during this period was constant. She lost children under mysterious circumstances. She lived surrounded by conspiracies and betrayal. Every day carried the threat of assassination. Unlike male rulers, she was never forgiven for severity. Every punishment was remembered, every kindness ignored, yet she endured. In 690 CE, Wu Zetian shattered the final barrier. She removed her own sons from power. She ended the Tang dynasty, and she declared herself Huangdi, Emperor of China. Not empress, not regent, emperor. For the first and only time in Chinese history, the entire empire was forced to kneel before a woman as sovereign ruler. Confucian scholars called it heresy. Nobles called it disaster. Rebellions erupted across the empire like open wounds. Wu Zetian crushed them all. From her capital at Luoyang, she ruled with absolute authority. She expanded the imperial examination system, allowing talent, not noble blood, to rise. She punished corruption relentlessly. She built intelligence networks that exposed betrayal before it began. Her rule was disciplined, her control precise. Men who once laughed at the idea of a woman ruling now bowed their heads. Not because tradition demanded it, but because survival did. Wu Zetian never needed to shout. Silence followed her commands. She ruled China for 15 years as emperor, and for decades as the true power behind the throne. Under her authority, the empire remained stable, feared, and unified. But time defeats all rulers. In 705 CE, weakened by age and illness, court officials finally moved against her. She was forced to abdicate, not overthrown, not defeated, removed quietly. Wu Zetian died shortly after, in her 80s. There were no grand monuments built in her honor. Her tomb bears no inscription. History chose silence. Later historians labeled her cruel, unnatural, and dangerous. They blamed her for violence while praising male emperors who spilled far more blood. They minimized her reforms and magnified her punishments. But they could not erase the truth. Wu Zetian ruled one of the greatest empires on earth. She forced the most powerful men of her age to kneel. She proved that power does not belong to gender, only to those strong enough to seize and hold it. That is why history tried to forget her. Because the most dangerous lesson an empire can learn is this: sometimes, the ruler who breaks every rule is the one who controls the world completely. If you want more forgotten rulers, erased empires, and hidden powers history tried to bury, subscribe to Forgotten Empire. Because history doesn't forget the weak, it hides the powerful. Crown Forgotten Empire, where lost power rises again.